Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I was kind of asked to talk about why shared revenue? Why did this bill even start and where did it come from? So all of us as legislators, whether we're in the Senate, the Assembly, Republican or Democrat, have been hearing a lot from our local units of government that they're starting to feel the pain on offering the core services of government. Not fluff, but the core services, whether it's police and fire, ambulance service, fixing our roads. So we sat down last summer, I did, with the towns, the counties, and the municipalities. And again, I want to express my gratitude for them for all their help and for really sticking together as a team and working with us to help get this across the finish line. And they came to us and they kind of presented the idea. What if we would dedicate 1% of the sales tax that the state already collects and put that into shared revenue to fund our local units of government? In addition to that, we then tied their shared revenue to the sales tax. So it kind of builds in, we've seen double-digit inflation under the Biden administration, and this is one way to offset it. We're tying the sales tax growth to their shared revenue, so it helps them keeping up with the inflationary pressures that we're all seeing. So the goal from the start was to fix kind of what we all know has been a pretty broken shared revenue formula. So we took a portion of the money and we did an inflationary catch-up, and we figured out some new revenue formulas on the new money that we were putting in, and we closed the gaps between the winners and losers. In addition to that, we took and we looked at what are the other things that they really need. You know, as we did some regulatory reform to make sure that these dollars were being spent really wisely. So after I was approached with all this, then they approached me and they said, who would you like to work with in the Assembly? And I said, well, give me some names. And they threw out Representative Tony Kurtz, and I said, absolutely, we can do this. So 2 rural legislators, we can work on shared revenue. This will really help our local units of government. Well, then later in the fall, leadership came to us and said, we'd like to include another component of this bill. Milwaukee's pension is in very bad shape, and we knew this because Milwaukee had had conversations with the legislature in the past. So Tony and I were then approached with that, and that's where the late nights, the long days, and a lot of information started to come in. And again, kudos to all 3 groups because they really worked with us, and kudos to the city and the county of Milwaukee. And we did spend a lot of long nights on this, but we came up with a bill, as you've heard from our leadership, that is historic investments into our local units of government to provide core services of government tied to inflation. In addition to that, we came up with a way to allow the city of Milwaukee and the county of Milwaukee to deal with a pension issue that's been happening over the last couple of decades on their own. We're not bailing them out, we're giving them a tool to help themselves.